Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to the September edition of the Maine Aquaculture Innovation Center webinar. Today, we have a very exciting program. We're excited to welcome the panel of interns from the Aquaculture Internship Program that's part of the Minorities in Aquaculture organization. So they're actually going to do all of the introductions and they're going to take it from here. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us today, everyone. We are really excited to get started and tell you all about minorities in aquaculture and our stories throughout our experiences. So to get started, we have me. I am Michaela Lloyd. I was a 2023 intern. I was stationed in Horn Point at the hatchery. During my time, I also got to travel to all the states and meet all the interns and work on other farms and learn various techniques throughout the oyster aquaculture sector. And then we also have Alicia, who is going to introduce herself next.
Yes, so I'm Alicia. I'm still currently an undergrad at the University of South Carolina, graduating this year. I was a part of the first cohort and then I came back for the second year. So I have been in South Carolina, and then for my second year, I traveled kind of all throughout Florida, working at a fish hatchery, and then I did a couple oyster farms around there. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. And next, I'm going to go ahead and pass it to our panelists today. So first, we're going to start down with Laura.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Santiago. I'm finishing up my undergrad here this semester at Purdue University in Indiana, and I was a part of the MIA internship this past summer as well as the summer before. So I started out in Maine, and this summer I was in the University of New Hampshire.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jamia Staten. I just recently graduated from Coastal Carolina University this past May. This summer, I interned in New Hampshire with the Nature Conservancy, and I also rotated at 3 different oyster farms up there. So, yeah.
Cool. And last but not least, Miss Sierra.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sierra Davis. I interned this past summer with MIA, and I am currently finishing my master's program at Nova Southeast University in Fort Lauderdale. So I graduate this December. Oh,
Right.
and I'm sorry. I also interned at TAL Tropical Aquaculture Lab in Florida.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, so now that y'all know a little bit about us, we're going to get a little deeper into our stories. So to start, we all have a very different array of experiences and times in aquaculture. I know for myself, I did not get into oyster aquaculture until after I graduated college. In undergrad, I had no interest in oysters or aquaculture at all. Definitely thought I was going the shark science route. So for me, I am only 1 year into this. So my experiences look very different from Laura's, Jamia's, Sierra's, everybody else's on this panel. So to get started, we're kind of just going to talk about our experiences a little more in depth. So first, we're going to go down to Laura, and she's just going to tell us a little bit about her experiences as a woman of color in aquaculture.
Thank you, Michaela. Yeah, so honestly, this is a thought that has been going through my head these past couple days because I realized that it was really depending on the location, what I was thinking when I was there. Like, um, I found myself, depending on the location, not that anything was necessarily a negative or uncomfortable situation, but being more aware of who I was identity-wise. And it really had me like questioning, like, I want to make sure that people know that I'm here. Yes, I may be a minority, but I'm also here because I have the talent, the intelligence, the drive to do this. But it also made me understand that the power I have of being a minority and I'm taking these steps for someone else to make it easier for somebody else. So,
Thank you. Thank you. And I will say for somebody who came into the internship as the same cohort as Laura, it is really amazing to see how far in just 1 summer she's already come. Like I'll scroll through Instagram and see her name on like her university's Instagram. Like you are definitely making an impact and change. So thank you for that. And next, I'm going to pass it on to Jamia, who is new to this year and may have a little bit more to tell on a different side of the oyster sector.
Yes, thank you, Michaela. So I had never heard about aquaculture prior to this internship. I'd never heard about it. I didn't know what it was. So coming into this internship, I didn't really know what to expect as far as what I was going to be doing and things like that. But also knowing that I'm a minority in this industry, I really didn't know how things would play out this summer. But I can say that I agree with Laura. Knowing who you are while working on an oyster farm is definitely very important. And it's definitely something that I had to, I guess, just adapt to. Um, I had a great time in New Hampshire this summer with the Nature Conservancy and all of the oyster farms that I was working on. I was working on one farm that was woman owned. So definitely I would say being there, sorry, to the other farms was probably my best experience just because being able to be there with her and see how powerful she was just kind of empowered me to know that, yes, I can do this. Yes, women are supposed to be in this space. And yes, we can occupy this space and just be able to be great. So, yeah.
Thank you. And also about Jamia coming into this, like when I first met her, we met on Capitol Hill the first time. We were the only two sorority girls. People came in doubting us, thinking like, oh, they're not going to know what to do. They're not ready for this. So even seeing Jamia come out of this and like I was able to visit her through some grant money to see her on the farm and see her like getting her hands dirty. And like, it was just a complete 180. And that's something that I would love to acknowledge and recognize that it doesn't matter like how long you've been in this sector, like you can grow so quickly because it's such an ever evolving industry. So moving on, Sierra's story is actually one that I'm super inspired by because she's our only we have two internationals, but she's the only one here today. So I know your story is completely different than all of ours. So if you would mind kind of getting into your journey in the aquaculture sector for us.
Yes, so like Jamia said, I've never heard of aquaculture, never had any plans of getting into it, had no idea what it was. And I first heard about aquaculture when I took a fisheries class sometime last year, and they briefly skipped past what aquaculture was. And that brief description just made me want to dig into it and try to find out more about what this industry is. So I did a random Instagram search and came across MIA, and that's what brought me to this organization. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Praying to Jesus it wasn't a scam or something of the sort. But just going into the program, going into the orientation and the 8-week internship just opened up my eyes to an entire different field that I had no idea existed. And just, I guess, being accepted into the program and being sent to a research lab compared to some of the other students or interns that got placed at farms, I had a different experience. And I'm really happy that I did that considering I am a grad student. But it was an awesome experience. I am so excited that I got to experience this as an international Black student because a lot of internationals don't have the privilege of interning or working in different fields because of immigration status or anything like that. So I'm just happy that I got to experience it and I had a good experience working at top.
Yeah, like everyone said, everyone just has such different experiences. Mine was completely different, especially during the first year when everyone was trying to figure everything out. It was still so great. And I feel like something that's kind of funny is everyone had the shared experience of not having a clue what aquaculture is. Google did not help. No matter what I searched, YouTube videos did not help. I think I looked up a YouTube video of a guy on an oyster farm and I said, I don't know what he's doing. But I went out there and I did it and I loved it. And one thing that I can say confidently that we all share is that this experience has really changed us. It's made us more confident in what we do. It's also built a community. And I think that our experiences have just really helped us grow as people, as future scientists, as whatever we are pursuing. Being an MIA intern has really helped us in that area. So another area that we wanted to touch on was resources and funding, because anyone who's a student that knows internships with good benefits are so hard to come by. Fortunately for us, I think that we have a pretty good MIA treats us very well. And I was curious what resources and support have been beneficial, and what areas do we think could be improved? And I especially wanted to highlight Sierra because I know that as an international student, and having kind of a specialized course of her being sent to a research lab, everyone's resources and funding and support is different from one another. So what do you think really helped you?
I think the aspect of having a fully funded internship that also paid me to be there, as well as paying for my accommodations, so paying for flights, Airbnb place to stay, um, and even the start of the orientation, flying all of us up to DC to basically meet each other and get us all acquainted with what exactly we'll be doing. That helped me a lot. Being an international student had some perks because I was mentioning to some of the other interns during our orientation that usually applying for jobs or applying to internships is always difficult for me because I will get accepted into the position, and the second I tell them I'm an international student, I'm from the Bahamas, my application gets thrown out, the job gets taken away from me. And it's nothing that I can do because many organizations maybe don't want to have to deal with sponsorship or have to deal with internationals. And I don't understand the trickiness with um, immigration status in different companies, but I was happy that MIA was able to accommodate me. I had to do basically set up my university as the summer course. So I was able to take the class legally with with my immigration status. And I was happy that Imani and MIA was able to accommodate that because other internships that I applied to was not able to accommodate having to fill out different types of paperwork and do different types of stuff to be able to get me to work legally in the US. So that was a big hurdle having to cross being an international student. And I'm happy that the faculty and organizers at Tropical Aquaculture Lab in Tampa, where I was placed, was also accepting of me being international and was able to basically guide me through any processes that needed to be done while I was there. So overall, it was a great experience, and I'm happy that um, I was able to cross that hurdle being international because it was very hard at other places.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that. So, yeah, MIA does great things covering those flight tickets because flights are so expensive. Um, so I also know, Jamia, you are from South Carolina, but you went to New Hampshire. What about your resources and support?
So I went to school in South Carolina, but I'm from Maryland. But originally this summer I was supposed to intern in Maryland. So I was supposed to stay local. My parents expected me to stay local, and then things didn't work out. And then it was a really quick turnaround, and it was like Imani was like, "Okay, we have to come up with something else. I still want you to do this internship. I still want you to be able to do what you said you wanted to do. So we have an option, and it's in New Hampshire. I know that's not Maryland, but would you like to go?" And so obviously that was a big change because I expected to stay local. I just graduated. I was in South Carolina for 4 years. I wanted to be at home. But overall, I think that Imani's organization and just the quick turnaround, it was really easy for me to just be like, okay, yeah, sure. I'll hop on a plane in a week and go to New Hampshire. That's fine. And then everyone in New Hampshire was so accommodating. They provided me housing. They were able to give me things that I would need while I was on the farms that I had no idea I would need. For example, one of the farms that I was working at, she doesn't have a boat. So you have to walk through the water to get to her farm. So Brianna, who was my point of contact at the Nature Conservancy, immediately when I got there, she was like, "We need to get you some diving booties because you're going to be going in the water. We'll get those tomorrow." So just being able to have those resources and have people that want to accommodate you and will do that with no hesitation, that was definitely really important to me. And it was very helpful to my internship experience in making sure that I had everything I needed in order to do well.
Yeah. One thing that I also really appreciated during my internship were those extra tufts. I still have them. they're cut up like no other, and I get comments on them. But I get comments on how cute they are because I was the only person on all my farms that had all pink extra tufts. Um, and you know what? They loved them. So shout out Extra Tough. Continue to sponsor us. Um, yeah. And last but not least, Laura, if you want to talk about some of your support, and resources that you've gotten.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I am born and raised in Indiana, so I'm a Midwesterner from day one. So trying to get experience in like any type of marine aspect has been like a struggle because there are plenty of internships out there, but a lot of them are unfortunately unpaid or they don't provide housing or one thing or another. And as many of us know as students, we're kind of broke a lot. So trying to fund those for us can be a little hard. So when I stumbled upon MIA, I was like, this is a long shot, but it never hurts to like try, you know. The worst they can say is no. I met with Amani, our first excuse me, and it went so great. Everything she was telling me what they do, how they provide, you know, extra tufts for us, grundins if we need it, and all things like that. Housing and stuff like that was great because I was going this first summer from Indiana to Maine. I didn't have a car. I had what knowledge I learned from like a quick, you know, little search of what oyster aquaculture is because before then you couldn't convince me oysters are more than pretty rocks. And I made it to Maine and it was so great. Like the people there, I don't think I would have had such a great summer if it wasn't for the farms I was put on. Same thing when I was in New Hampshire. The people there were so willing to help me out. I got rides to the labs that I had to go. It wasn't hard to ask questions, or if I was missing some type of supply, how can we get it? Where are we gonna get it from? Like it was never a question of like, oh, you might have to go without this or not be able to do this because they would find the way to make sure that I can, whether it was through MIA, through the University of New Hampshire, or when I was in Maine, if it was one of the farms, people are so willing to help you and accommodate you that it just made the experience all worthwhile.
Thank you for that. I think something we all definitely have in common, like Alicia said, is like, well, aside from Alicia said, is that we've all like just loved our time in MIA. And there has never been a time that we felt like we could not reach out to, whether it be Amani or all the other interns. Like I know for a fact, whether it comes to like birthday, celebration, anything, like we have all been able to reach out to each other. Like me and Jamie are going to the rodeo later. Like this has really become like a community, even outside of aquaculture, being able to rely on these women who are also like going through college, so we understand the broke struggles. We understand being a woman in color in this sector. We understand just trying to survive day-to-day things. And so being able to join MIA for us all, I think has just been beyond beneficial. Like going back a little to my story, whenever I joined MIA, I had a very hard first summer. Like within the first couple of weeks, Amani was like, girl, you cannot stay on that farm. Within a day, she had made one phone call and had me switch to a hatchery. And I stayed with her for 2 weeks. And I've never had a roommate. Like I was that lucky person that had a single as a freshman, never had a roommate. And so living with Amani for 2 weeks was terrifying for me. But in those 2 weeks, being able to like learn from her, understand her leadership, understand what she's doing in this sector, and just being able to be under her and learning every single thing that she has to go through to be able to pave a way for us just gave me such a love for this organization and to be able to keep passing it on and even be able to come this year. And even though I wasn't an intern, I did get to be able to flown into DC and do the orientation process with everybody. And like that actually led to like where I am in life now. Like after the internship last year, I was on a farm full time, but after this summer and doing orientation, I fell in love with EDF and I fell in love with policy. And like that's my new sector, like being able to reach out to some of the connections I made on Capitol Hill, being able to reach out to EDF and just certain things that I would not have been able to even imagine had it not been for minorities in aquaculture is just such a blessing. And like I said, I've only been in the sector for 1 year, but even being able to look back from 1 year ago to now, it's just a crazy difference. So I'm really glad just to even have all of y'all here today. Like it wouldn't be possible without MIA. So just a big love in our heart for that. But back to the little panel. So how has community and representation within MIA impacted all of y'all during our journey? I know, like I just said, I wouldn't have been able to get through it all without having you all, but I know for some people, like I know South Carolina can be a little bit more isolating than Maine. I know for Maryland last year, we had 3 interns there, but I know some states only had 1 or 2. So like, would everybody mind telling a little bit how community and representation during your time during the internship has impacted your journey? We can start with Jamia.
Yes. So, as Laura said, she was also in New Hampshire. So, throughout the entire summer, I had Laura there by my side, even though we weren't in the same spaces all the time. I saw Laura probably once or twice every week, bothering her, texting her, asking her, hey, what are you doing this week? Hey, let's go somewhere this week. So, being able to have another intern there with me was definitely beneficial because I could kind of unload on her and she could unload on me. And then also there's an MIA member that was working at the Nature Conservancy, Taja. Laura knows Taja as well. Having her as a resource, she's been in this industry for however long, and just having her there to guide me and just tell me, okay, this is what we're doing. This is how you do it. Come to me with questions if you need it. If something's wrong, just text me, call me if you need anything. And just being able to have someone to go to, not that things went wrong, but just to have someone there for you, just to have a friend. And so I would say that the community within MIA is definitely fantastic. I text some of the interns all the time. I text Michaela all the time. So just being able to build those connections that I can take with me for the rest of my life, whether I'm in the aquaculture industry or not, just being able to have someone that has shared the same experiences as me has been fantastic.
Amazing. I'm glad you know, like you said, lifetime. This is not just 8 weeks, like the bonds you make. I know for us, we did an obstacle course and Amani made us do hard work during orientation. It was not all just fun. I know y'all seen social media posts, but we were working. And one of the things we did was an obstacle course and we had to like climb up. Like, I don't even know, it was maybe 20 feet, could be exaggerative, but like, just like up this huge like ladder rope course just to like bond together. We had to go, like we had to build just, I don't know how to explain this. You had to be there kind of, but it's just know the bonds that you make during that time. It's just something that never fades. I know we were all hot, sweaty, but during those hot and sweaty nights, I know we also got to go watch sunsets by the piers and like just bond and connect on things that we've gone through. So thank you. I'm glad you know, Jamia. We're locked in, locked in. Okay, I guess next let's go to Laura, since you were also up there with our girl Jamia.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, to put like it as short as possible, it's I can do this. And like obviously that's something that's been in my head. Like, of course I can do this. But like being able to not only like actually be put into practice like things I've learned, but also be alongside other women that are very confident in who they are and like don't let anyone like let that falter. It really helps when it comes to like fighting imposter syndrome. Like I met Taja my first summer and the bond was so easy to create because she made me feel comfortable. Meeting Jamia and having laughs with her this past summer just made it so much easier in some locations where I felt like maybe I need to like backtrack a little bit who I am. I also got really lucky in the sense that at New Hampshire, one of the grad students I was working was a Puerto Rican um, who was really like really helpful in like practicing my Spanish, like keeping me in touch with like cultural roots. We would laugh about things that other people might not understand, but we do because we have similar cultures. So it's just like all in all, it's just I can do it. And there's always going to be people there to help me. And in the same, I'm going to do the same for other people that they have done for me. I'm going to continue to push people up, especially strong, independent women of color, along with me because no one's being held back today.
Amazing. I could not agree more. I think that's something that we can all agree on is that when we do this, we do it for ourselves. We also do it for the girl beside us, the girl that looks like us. They're like, come on, let's go. I know there's been days that I've like gone off the farm and I'm like, do I really want to go back tomorrow? Like, is it okay if I sleep in? And it's like, no, send a quick text. Like, I'm exhausted. But just having the encouragement of like, girl, keep going. Like, you're doing this for a reason. You're doing this for a purpose. It is for you, but it's also greater than you. And that's like a common thing I can hear throughout us all. Lastly, I'm going to pass it up to Sierra.
I think the community that I've built this summer, I would have never expected it going into the internship. And being kind of one of the only grad students, I was kind of nervous thinking, oh, I'm older than everyone. I'm a bit ahead of some of them. But I never once felt like out of place. I never once felt like like I didn't fit in to everyone. We were together for a few days in Maryland, and our last day, everyone was crying because we were like, we built this relationship in a few days, and we're partying and we're never gonna see each other again, and it's gonna be so sad. But it was such an amazing experience connecting with all of these beautiful young ladies who are so smart and so like determined and have that go-getter mentality. And also up at my farm in Florida, Ruskin, the the grad students that I worked under, the students that I worked beside, I just felt like an instant connection with them. We went for lunch, we went out on the weekends, and even Imani and the MIA team, I built a connection with one of the other interns. Imani and I were on the phone for 3 hours just talking about God knows what. It's just that we built this instant connection, and I really appreciate all of the community and friendship that I built with all of the MIA interns and um, past interns. And also, oh, let me add, also some of the people that came and visited and had talks, so like Anushka, Carly, some of those other people that we met, people that are on the board of MIA, great people. It was easy to talk to. They gave us great insight. And even now that I'm applying for jobs, I'm reaching out to some of them. Reaching out to Layla, who showed us how to shuck oysters and who grilled for us. Like, these are amazing experiences that I still think about to this day, and I have no problem reaching out to them. So I'm very happy with the community that I built.
That's amazing. I know it's nice when you're going through the good just to have people to pull right along with you. So I'm glad that you got to experience that. And I would like to also talk about the board and the panel, or besides the panel, because the board is something that MIA doesn't really highlight that much. But I agree, them being there meant the world. I know for people like me who had been in the organization for 2 years, I had never got to meet Carly. I had never got to meet Anushka. So being able to put names to faces was definitely something I will forever remember, and super grateful they could attend. And I know we've talked about kind of all the good within the aquaculture sector and everything great that we've got to go through. But is there any negatives or anything in the aquaculture sector that y'all have got to experience that you would like to bring light to? Or do you have any ideas how we can improve the aquaculture sector moving forward? I know, like we said, we had our good days, but we also did have our bad. And is there anything that y'all can think of that you would like to improve, or that you notice that could better be corrected for the next generation that comes after us? I'll give you a second. Or just see it. You want to go?
Sure, I can say
Okay.
something. One thing that it isn't really a negative. I would say you just have to be strong within yourself and know who you are, because working at a research facility was a bit different than a farm. And so my first day going to the lab, the grad student that I was supposed to be working under kind of didn't want to show me the ropes and didn't want to didn't want me to touch his research because he thought that I was going to mess it up, or just didn't want to teach me what he was doing. And I kind of understood it in a way that this young girl is coming in and she's going to mess up what I have going on. But then I have to be strong within myself to say, hey, I'm a graduate student. I can do this. I understand what you're talking about. Just show me. And I got it. And towards the end of the internship, I took over his entire research. So it was just me being strong to say, hey, I know what I'm doing. I have faith in myself, showing them that I'm not just some dumb girl that doesn't know or can't understand or follow instructions. Like I know. So it's just the fact that don't let people run over you, and be strong within yourself. And I guess people can attest to that working at a farm. I'm sure they can, but it's just something that I experienced and how I overcome that.
Yeah, and I want to add to that during my time in Florida, I met with Dr. Megan Davis, who works at FAU. Michaela knows her. I recently set up a meeting with her a couple months ago, and we talked about, me graduating and kind of just what you have to do to get your foot in the door. And something that really resonated with me that Sierra just said, Dr. Davis said, make your voice heard in a room. So that means, like, just like Sierra, like going out, and you have to be kind of firm sometimes in telling them this is what you want. I want to learn. I'm here for a reason. Really just getting your place and putting authority behind it. You are there for a reason. And I guess one piece of advice I have is show what you can do, because you are there for a reason. You got selected for a reason. You're at whatever place of work you are at for a reason. You have a lot to show, regardless of your background, your experience, no matter what, and really, really take pride in that, and really take pride in what you can bring to the table. So I don't know if Laura or Jamia have something that they want to add.
Yeah, I'll just add really quickly to that. I think you guys summarized that very beautifully. But like just don't be afraid. Like people come with assumptions no matter where you're going. So don't be afraid that if you get like brushed off to try again, because sometimes people just need a reminder like, hey, I am here. I'm here to learn. Maybe I don't know this yet, but I can with your help. So if you get like brushed off, don't be afraid to try again or find someone else who will try to help you.
Yeah, I think, like Laura said, they pretty much summed it up. I think for me, working mostly just on farms, I guess I would say in the beginning, I was coddled a little bit, just like, okay, yes, you're an intern. You might not, this is your first experience on a farm. You don't really know what you're doing. Hey, and they would just kind of, hey, do you need help with this? Hey, do you need help with this? And just like kind of a continual, like, are you sure you know what you're doing? But I think that throughout the internship, after I pretty much proved myself that I can do the hard work. I can lift the cage. Just being able to do what I'm there for, they kind of relaxed a little bit. So I would say kind of just what Sierra said, just being confident in yourself and being confident in your abilities and knowing that you're supposed to be there.
Amazing. Thank you. I know earlier, Jamia, you said you're going to have community whether you stay in the aquaculture sector or not. So I know a lot of us this summer were given many job opportunities. We made a lot of connections. So for all of the girls, like, what is your next step? Like, are you going to be using the connections? Are you going to continue to stay in the aquaculture sector? And if so, like, what are you going to be doing? So I know, let's go up to Sierra.
Um, yes, I am looking around heavily. I graduate in December. I have put out job applications to various places, and if one of them happens to be in aquaculture, then hey, I might just take it, you know? But I have no opposition to, and I love the aquaculture field, specifically the ornamental fish. I really enjoy doing that this summer.
Amazing. How about you, Jamia?
So this internship was kind of my figuring it out phase, especially since I just graduated. I wanted to experience something new to see if I liked it, and I did. So I plan to go to grad school next year. If I wouldn't be opposed to staying in the aquaculture industry. I'm still kind of stuck on my marine and animal behavior type thing, but I really wouldn't be opposed to staying in aquaculture because this internship has definitely shown me how much I love it. So, yeah.
Okay. And how about you, Laura?
So no pun intended, but I right now feel like the world is my oyster. Like, going through MIA has really shown me that there's other avenues that I didn't realize existed out there. So I know what my long-term goal is to end up like in shark science, but I don't necessarily need to go in a straight path to get there. I'm so excited to explore other avenues. And if I stay in aquaculture a little bit longer, well, then that happens.
Amazing. I'm glad to hear that. I think we are wrapping up for our time with the questions that we've had this evening. I know they've asked in this chat if there's any questions. So I was just seeing if anybody had dropped any questions. I can't see the chat right now. Does anybody see anything?
It's in the Q&A, on the Q&A button.
Yeah, we have a number of questions actually. Hi, sorry, I'm back. You guys are totally amazing. This has been so wonderful. I can ask the question and then, if the moderators want to just take that and run with it. So we have a question here that's actually wondering if each of you could share an example of an act of micro inclusion. So the opposite of a microaggression the folks within the industry that you've worked with that made you feel welcome and really like you belonged? So that's our first question here.
That is a tough question. Not because we haven't, from my experience, not because I haven't been not included, but I think that, yeah, I think that we all just, for me personally, something that has really stuck out for me is when I was in South Carolina and I was working at Barrier Island, and they had this guy that hung out on the dock. His name was Rabbit, I think, if I remember correctly. And he was a shrimper. And obviously I have no experience. I don't know what that is. I know what shrimp are. I know I eat them and I know I like it. Um, but beyond that, I didn't know how much went into it. And he had this old boat, Miss Marilyn, and he let me get on the boat one time and kind of just showed me what it's like to be a shrimper. And that's something that I think the reason that it stands out to me so much is because he didn't look at me as this girl who doesn't who just is here for an internship, who has never really touched an oyster before. He saw something in me that was like, she might think that this is cool. And that's something that's small, but that's something that has really stuck out to me as this guy that I've never met, that I've never really talked to in depth before, thinks that I can do this. And that is something that really meant a lot to me personally.
I'll say for me, one of the farms that I was working at, Fox Point Oysters with Laura, who's the owner. I spent most of my time on her farm, and I would say that maybe after the first week, she was everybody that would visit her farm. She was calling me a pro. Oh, just ask me. Oh, just ask me what you're doing. Oh, just ask me. So I think that would definitely be my micro inclusion, even though I guess that's not that small, but just for her to have that trust in me that I could just tell people like what they're supposed to be doing on her farm, and she could just like go away for like 20-30 minutes and be confident that I would be able to handle her farm by myself or with other people. I guess that would definitely that made me feel really included and made me feel like I was in the right space.
I can piggyback off of Jamia's because I think mine was whenever I did finish the internship and I got my first job on an oyster farm, and the guys would be like, go grab the tractor and pick up this pallet of oysters. And it's just like, I've never driven a tractor. And it wasn't that it was just the naiveness of them automatically assuming that I'm coming into this, I'm going to have all the skills. And it wasn't even a huge surprise when I was like, I don't know how to do this. For me, I expected them to kind of be like upset. Like, what do you mean? How are you coming into not knowing these things? But it wasn't that. It was like, I don't know. Oh, okay, look, I have 5 minutes. Let me teach you. So like I think for me, those were like the moments that stuck out to me the most.
Just to like kind of go off that, this past summer working with graduate students, I came in like a little nervous because I've done some research experience, but nothing too crazy. And this is like stuff they've been working on for years. Like this is what they're gonna write their thesis about and eventually present. And it got to a point where I know like the first project is like, this is basically your project. You got this, you have it handled. And I was like, they could see the work that I was putting in and they weren't questioning it because it was their project or whatnot. They're like, she's got this. There's nothing to be worried about. So I think that made me feel really good.
That's all such enlightening answers, and I think it's really highlights just the types of things that people who are either working in labs or working on farms can do to help make these spaces more inclusive. Sierra, I don't know if you shared during that. Did you want to also add on?
I think the main part of what they did to make me feel included was from the jump saying you're not an intern, like you work here. You're along with everyone else. And then before I even got there, we set up Zoom calls to say, hey, like, what are you interested in? We don't want this internship to be something that you're just doing to get by or waste time or do something to make money over the summer. Like, we want you to gain from this just as much as we want to pour into you. So before the internship started, we got on a Zoom call. They're like, okay, we know you're a graduate student. Do you want to get into research or do you just want to be outside with the fish? And I'm like, I'm interested in research. So they then tailored the internship to make it more research and husbandry focused so that I can get the best of both worlds. And I think that helped me feel included because they just didn't throw me out into the water and say, well, we'll just let you do whatever, or you're not going to gain anything from this. I think that aspect of it was very helpful. And things that I didn't know, like Michaela was mentioning, let me show you. Let me put some time aside. Did you get it? Do it on your own. If you don't get it, come back. Let's go over it again. And then in 2 weeks, I was doing everything on my own. So I think that was very helpful in making me feel included.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Um, so we do have a couple more questions from the audience. So the next one that we'll go to is someone asking, what would you say to minorities who are not confident to apply to the program, and how would you encourage them to apply?
I feel like I would encourage them by just telling them my story, which is I was scrolling through Instagram one day, I seen the ad and I applied the night before it was due. Just taking a chance on myself and taking a chance that if it's meant to be, it will be. And it's just been ongoing from there. I think there's a lot of things that can deter you from like wanting to apply. And I completely understand that when you go through Aquaculture, when you do find the little Instagram tags, it is not people who look like us. It is not people who share the same things that I may share in common. But at the end of the day, like Minorities in Aquaculture is here to expand that. And it is here for more women like me, more people that look like me to enter into this sector. So I would say just apply for it. I know it may be scary, but you have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Yeah, to add on to that, something that I really value is, or something that I'm really striving towards is being comfortable in uncomfortable spaces. Um, you really, you really have to push yourself to being in places that may not feel welcoming at first or may not, you can list 1,000 reasons on why something's not going to work, but you're not going to know until you do it. And being able to take that jump and saying it can go wrong, but if it goes wrong, that's okay, is something that is very important, especially for getting into really any career field. But as a woman of color, this MIA is here for you. And they they made this so that people like us can be confident enough to break those barriers. And we are here representing something kind of bigger than us as far as diversity, trying to diversify a field that's not diverse. And that's a huge job. And the great thing is that MIA is here to help you do that. So it's scary to think about, but when you have the community and you have the resources that MIA gives you on your side, it's you're not just a small person battling this big thing. You have a whole group of people standing behind you ready to cheer you on. And I think that that's something that you should really think about if you do want to apply.
I would love to add on to that. So currently my motto is the worst they can say is no. Because you will never know until you apply. Like applying to MIA, I didn't have any type of experience. I'm from the Midwest. I have affinity towards the ocean because of my culture and my backgrounds. But in the long term, I didn't have any experience. So a lot like Michaela did, I kind of saw it when they were expanding application deadlines. I was like, I don't know. So it was like the night of. I'm like, I'm just gonna go for it. The worst they can say is no. And for me, like it worked out. I was managed to not only intern once, but twice. But then on the other side of the coin, it's the questioning of identity. It's remembering that you are enough. And whatever identity you choose, you are enough. I am Latina enough, even if maybe I don't always think that, but you are enough.
That was so beautifully said, all of you. Does anybody else want to add on to that question, or would you like to move on to the next one? Totally up to you.
I think for me, I heard about this internship through an email that my school had sent, and immediately I saw minorities in aquaculture, and I was like, okay, that sounds kind of marine sciencey, and then it's focused towards minorities, and then I immediately saved the email. I was like, okay, I'm gonna apply, and then I was kind of putting it off, and then my dad was telling me you need to apply before the deadline, and so I did, and then here I am. So I think for anyone that wants to apply, just know that it is hard work, but you also have a big group of people, like a really big group of people that will cheer you on and just keep pushing you to keep going, that will check on you and things of that sort. So if you think that MIA is for you, you might as well apply, because I mean, what is there to lose? I mean, like there's so much information and knowledge that you can gain from this internship, and it's great. You've heard all of us say that it's great. We've been saying that the entire day. So if you want to apply, I think that you should. I will never down talk MIA. MIA is fantastic. It's done great things these past couple months. So apply.
We actually have a follow-up question from someone who went to U of South Carolina. So they are shouting out hardcore the South Carolina folk. They wanted to ask, kind of building on this question of applying to the program. They're wondering if you can be a recent grad that's planning on getting a master's but hasn't applied yet, that does the program, and if you would recommend that someone in that position would apply. And if any of you know the answer, go for it. Otherwise, Imani might know the answer.
So that's kind of right up my alley. I graduated in May, and so the internship was obviously this summer. I think that it's definitely good, because the main reason that I applied was to try and focus my interests and kind of make sure that what I want to do is what I want to do. And before going to grad school, making sure that this is actually what I want to do before I put in the time and energy and the money into a program that I might not end up liking, or that I'm not really interested in. So yes, you can apply as a recent grad.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that information and also your experience about it. So yes, to the attendee, you should apply. So we have just a couple more questions for just a few more minutes. So we're looking great here. So this person is wondering about the biggest challenges remaining for you all after your experiences kind of going forward in the aquaculture or marine science community. And they specifically are wondering what the extended MIA community can do to support early career aquaculture folks and minority aquaculture folks.
I would say the biggest challenge that I'm facing right now is after the internship is probably like job hunting and looking for a job. And the biggest, I would say, the biggest help that MIA has offered me is the connections that I made over the 8-week internship along with the orientation. So I made connections with people like Anushka, Layla, Manu, So you get connected with these people, and when they see something, they share it with you. So I mentioned to Layla, the professional shucker, that hey, I'm looking for a job. She spams my Instagram messages at least 10 times a day with job opportunities. Amani sends me something every time she sees something. I follow or get connected with other Instagram pages, like different Sea Grant pages for the different states or different schools or universities that are applying. So these connections that I made with like Anushka or Layla, Amani, I would have never had if I didn't go forth with the internship. So this is something that I'm still going through, still job hunting, but it has been so much easier with the connections that I made.
I also want to add on to that. I am graduating in this upcoming spring, and so the search for grad school, and if that's something I want to do, so I don't know, or just job hunting in general is very tough, especially for aquaculture, because there's not really like a it's hard to find a large community of people who are like, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for people to like join our farm, or we're looking for this specific. And one thing that is kind of easy about joining an oyster farm through MIA is that you know that they signed up to have a minority there, and that they're welcoming, they they want you there pretty much. Um, Something that's kind of really tough about job hunting outside of MIA is you don't know if that's going to be the case. And so I think something that can really be beneficial to, if you're looking as an employer to hire someone in your field, is to kind of show maybe what you can do to, or show that you are welcoming and that you want someone there to be there no matter what, no matter what they look like or things like that. And I know that sounds kind of silly to say, but that stuff like that really does go a long way, in showing us that we are going, like, this is a job that we want. But yeah, I guess baseline things is I am on social media a lot as a college student, 22 years old. And that is where I find a lot of job opportunities rather than Googling, which sounds kind of crazy, but also if you're looking to something that I think would also help is putting things out on social media really does attract more people than you think it would. Yeah.
That was both excellent advice about the social media and also, I think, incredibly wise and insightful the way that you put the way that you put the idea of hiring and showing that you are an inclusive place to work. I think that's really critical. And it really does make a difference, like you were saying. So does anybody else want to add on to this question before we move on to a final question?
I just kind of want to echo what Sierra said. The connections that been made through like minorities and aqua internship, have really been helpful for me. I'm also wrapping up my degree this December, so going into like the job searching, potential graduate school searching has been like a daunting experience. But I have a farmer that I worked with in Maine sending me grad school opportunities, so I'd be closer back over there because they want me back and stuff like that. Then I also have like I know MIA does a really good job of sending out job opportunities, so it makes the search that seems this big just a little bit more manageable to do.
Wonderful. So it sounds like MIA also does send out jobs, which is amazing. Um, so one final question for you all before we wrap up, but can you just share what your favorite thing or like a favorite memory from working on one of the farms? It could be this summer, or if you've done 2 summers, the summer before that. Um, we'd love to hear it.
I'll go first. I'll say as like somebody who got a job right after the internship, for me, like a highlight will always be that one morning, like I think my bosses were late, something happened, there was a mix up somewhere, and that day was the very first day that I got to like launch the boat by myself, drive out to our farm by myself, harvest the oysters by myself, come back in, use the sed, which I'm not sure if a lot of people know what a sed is, probably not anyway, but it's like this like big machinery. Like I got to grade all the oysters by myself. I got to package the order by myself. I got to send off on the truck by myself. So as a person who grew up in like small Asheville, North Carolina, to be able to go basically a full work day on a farm by myself with the like mercy of MIA. And I was like texting Amani, like, I'm doing this by myself right now. Like, I really don't know if I should be, like, they trust me enough, but I don't know if I trust myself or not. It was just one of those moments that like really like stamped in my mind that like, I'm here for a reason. I can do this for a reason. And I think for me, that was like the moment I realized that like, I'm in where I need to be. So yeah, for me, that's always a moment that like will live in my head forever.
I think mine is like last summer in Maine, anytime we were on the boat was a good time. We were doing accents, doing boat yoga. So while we're working, so it's like we're getting the work done by having a good time. And it could be like the dreariest of weather. Like it's foggy, it's raining. Most people don't want to be out in this weather, but we're out on the boat pulling up cages and laughing.
Yeah, I would say the same thing for me is just like being out on the boat. I remember when I was in Florida, I worked for Pelican Oyster Company run by Kanan. And if anyone knows Kanan, he is crazy. So the team was just me and him. So he trusted me to do a lot more things. But I'd never driven a boat before. And he started going and he let go and was like, all right, take it. And I was like, um, I did hit a couple sandbanks, more than once. But you live and you learn. And yeah, just being out on the boat, being out with him, definitely something that really sticks with me. But I would also say like the whole just a day's work, just kind of like sitting, being back home, freshly showered because you smell so bad afterwards. Um, just being back home and feeling tired but feeling accomplished is something that I also just loved.
I'll say one of my favorite things about being on the farm was just being on the boat and sorting oysters. Just being able to pick up the bags and then putting them all out on the table and then sorting them with the music blasting and the wind blowing. I think that those were some of the chill days, but also some of the most memorable just because of the jokes that would just come up and just all the different things that you would see in the water. We would see seals sometimes and just all these different things that would just happen just being stagnant in the water. That would probably be my favorite part.
For me, I would say one of the biggest challenges going into the ornamental tropical aquaculture lab, they said when you're raising fish or raising larval fish, it's like impossible to get them past 12 days. And we were raising a few fish, blue tangs, clownfish, firefish, damselfish, that sorts of stuff. And my first day there, they're like, we're going to give you a research project and you have to raise angelfish. And we're going to look at the microdiet in the angelfish. So we got almost like 500,000 little baby eggs of these angelfish, and they were just dropping down, like dropping like flies. And I got my tank of fish, and when I got them past 12-day mark, it was like, Jesus is real. I did this. Oh my gosh. Like that was the most exciting thing for me, just being able to do something that I know was so difficult. And at the end of my internship, I'm like, do you want to keep your fish? I'll keep my fish. Like I raised it. It's mine. So I think that was so fun and the most exciting part of my internship.
I love all of those experiences. Praise Jesus for the fish. It's so good. Also totally relate to smelling horrible at the end of an oyster farming day and really needing a shower. So, um, thank you all so much for sharing. Is there any last minute thing that you want to mention before I conclude everything for us?
Yes, I would just like to say applications do open February 2025. So if you would like to join us, like we will, I think, like I said, I don't know what date in February, but I just know it's February 2025. And I know that MIA has like a lot of upcoming events. We've just posted our last couple events for September. I know me and Jamia catches up in Howard in September or October. I know we have a couple events coming up. So we're all over the place. We're trying our best, like keep following us, keep liking, keep sharing, because we are out here doing the work. And so I want to say thank you so much to like the Maine Aquaculture Innovation Center for having us today and like letting us get our voices out, because without people like you, like it definitely would not be possible. So just thank you so much for having all of us here today.
I also wanted to shout out Imani, because obviously she's the reason why we are here. And if you guys are ever looking for someone cool, reach out. She's cool. Pretty chill, likes to talk. Extremely busy, so catch her while you can. But yeah, obviously we're all here because of her and the things that she's done to get us here. She's continuing to do so many awesome, amazing things. So I did just want to shout her out for that.
Amazing. Yes. Thank you so much. Also, thank you to all 5 of you for being here. This has sincerely been the most fun webinar that I have ever hosted, I think. And it was just an absolute treat and pleasure to be able to be a part of this with you all and to hear from your experiences. We've also had so many audience members saying the same. So just a little shout out to you guys. As I'm concluding here, just wanted to let people know about some Maine Aquaculture Innovation Center, so MAIC, things that are coming up. We've got another webinar for our monthly webinar series that will be on October 18th. It will be focusing on a seaweed exchange trip to Japan. So that's pretty exciting. Tune in for that. We also are doing a cooking webinar series, and the next one will be on November 7th. And I believe that is at 5 p.m., correct? Yes, that is correct. So make sure to tune into those. And as everyone said, follow Minorities in Aquaculture and support their program because it is doing amazing work. Thank you everyone for attending, and thank you to panelists again. Round of applause. So, all right, bye everybody.